how to cook all over again. Where's Jared? Jared, come pull up a picture of your dad. There he is, after he lost 100 pounds. In 1 year, he lost 100 pounds. And we thought everything was going great. On January 21st, 2013, a month after this picture was taken, Tracy had a massive stroke. Totally paralyzed him on the right side. We spent 93 days in ICU. Days of, one day we'd take 10 steps forward, the next day we'd take 5 steps backwards, and just on and on and on. And the doctor's telling us, well, we've done all we could do. It's left up to God. And then they would come in and they'd say, well, we don't know that he'll make it through the night. And I was just the type person. I don't know if any of y'all have seen the movie Breakthrough. I'm that woman. I'm that mama in that movie. Because I would tell people before they came into his room, I'm like, if you don't believe that God can heal him, don't come in this room. I don't want no negative, no doubt or anything, because I believe with all of my heart that God is going to bring him out of this situation, and he's going to be back singing. And they would all just look at me like that I had just lost my mind. And I would just tell them, my sister, I got a sister, Lord have mercy. She's been in church all of her life, but she's one of these that she likes to praise God when things are going good. But when things are going bad, it's only, well, I don't know. And I'd walk by her, she'd be on the phone, and she said, well, we're just hoping that he's going to be. And one day I stopped in the hall and I said, no, I don't want to hear that word no more. I don't want to hear hope no more, because I believe with all of my heart that God is going to bring Tracy up out of that bed. After 93 days in ICU, 155 days in a nursing facility and rehab, Tracy Stuffle came home 9 months later. Was he the same person that he was 9 months before that? No, he wasn't. But that didn't change my love for him whatsoever. I never left his side, stayed with him 24/7, took care of him, his only caregiver, for 5 years. Slept on the floor on the bus beside of he had a hospital bed on the bus, and I slept in the floor for 5 years beside of him. And it was an honor, and it was a privilege to be his hands and his feet for him. It was an honor to, when he couldn't use the bathroom, to help him use the bathroom. It was an honor to feed him. It was an honor to give him a bath. It was an honor to comb his hair, brush his teeth, and shave him. It was an honor to get him dressed. It was an honor to put him to bed at night. It was an honor to give him his medicine. It was an honor to hear him pray for me and to cover me when I would be tired and worn out, stressed out to the max. And at night when we would pray, he'd say, God, please touch Libby. Give her strength. Lord, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. And I ain't pinning no roses on me. That made me feel like this. For better or for worse. In sickness and in health. 5 years went by and we went through every kind of situation you can imagine. January 29th, 2018. Tracy, his days to sleep was on Monday after we'd come in off the road. And Tracy suffered a massive seizure. He seized for over an hour and 15 minutes. He never regained consciousness after that. That was on a Monday night. On Thursday morning, the neuro doctor came in and he said, I'm a little worried. And he said, if he don't wake up in the next 24 hours, he's not. He said, there's no brain activity going on. And Tracy was on a ventilator. He said, you're going to have to make a decision to take him off the ventilator or to put a trach in. And so I asked, I said, what would his quality of life be? And he said, just what you see right there, nothing. He said, but you got several days to think about it. No decision today. That was on Thursday morning. Saturday morning, they came in and said, we need a decision today. Hardest decision I've ever made in my life. It's 2:54 a.m. in the morning on February the 4th. Tracy traded in that tired, worn out, sick body of his for a glorified body. Like an intimacy of God. For about 6 months after that, I probably went through some of the worst depression that I've ever been in my entire life. I didn't care if the sun rose or set. I didn't care if I got out of the bed. I didn't care if the world turned bottom side upwards. I did not care. At the end of July, we had to do a photo shoot for the Singing News magazine. First thing we had to do without Tracy. And I'm just bearing my soul here today. I mean, there ain't nobody up here but us and y'all. I sat there on the edge of my bed and I was just falling. And I was like, God, I can't do this. I don't want to do it. Spirit spoke into me and he said, he, she, whatever, I don't know. You may believe, I don't know if the Spirit's a he or she. It don't matter to me as long as he comes to me. But it spoke to me and said, you have a choice. You can choose to be bitter. You can choose to be depressed. You can choose to be down. You can choose to be discouraged. You can choose to blame everybody in this world for every problem that you have. You can choose to just be angry, or you can choose joy in your life.
Yeah. Yep.
Nehemiah says, for the joy of the Lord is our strength.
Yeah.
I sat there on the edge of that bed and I made up my mind that morning that every morning when I put my feet on the floor, that I'm going to choose joy in my life. Now, does that mean the day is going to go better? No. It just means I'm going to trust God. It just means that I'm going to put a smile on my face and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to face that world and let them know that it doesn't matter what you go through. It doesn't matter what the devil may throw at you. It doesn't matter what you face in this life. That as long as you're trusting God, you can still put a smile on your face. You can still rejoice and you can still praise Him in the middle of the storm. Kind of reminds me of a story that Tracy used to tell. A bunch of scientists were in Africa and they were working with some monkeys and trying to get them to teach them things. And so they had a glass vase with a small opening in it, and they put candy down in the bottom of that vase. And so those monkeys would stick their hand down in there to get that candy. But when they started to pull their hand out, because they had their fists clenched with that candy in it, it wouldn't come out. And those monkeys would get just aggravated and they would get just mad because they couldn't get their hand out, and they were trying to teach them to let go of the candy, and they can get their hand out. And those little monkeys just did not. They was not going to let go of that candy. They didn't want to because they wanted it. Finally, they taught this one little monkey, demonstrated to him what to do. And when that little monkey opened his hand and dropped the candy, he pulled it out. That's the way I was with my discouragement, with my depression, with my bitterness, with my anger. I had to let it go. And I could pull free. Does that mean that I don't have days that I cry myself to sleep? Nope, it don't. It just means that I trust God. Who could find a virtuous woman, for her price is far above rubies? The heart of her husband does safely trust her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. What I've learned 30 years of marriage, Genesis 2:18 saw that Adam needed a helpmate, so he created him one. Took a rib from him, and when he finished her, he looked at her and he went, "Whoa, man."
No.
We'll have your minutes.
I haven't got anything. I don't.
The title of this is been covered. And I wanted to go through the history of us, because I feel like that it's important for you to know that the only way that you can get through these situations in your life when you go through the trials and the heartaches is you have to cover your family. You have to cover your husband, your children, your grandchildren. You have to cover them with prayers every single day. There's some days that women, you get up in the morning and he is not helping you do nothing. He's not helping you wash the dishes. He's not help you make the bed or nothing. And you just get plumb just mad. And you're like, can't you help? Can't you do this? And he may be on his way out the door to work. Instead of getting mad, instead of getting angry, just stop and say, Lord, help him today as he goes to work to provide for our family. Give him a clear mind. Protect his thoughts. Keep him safe on the road. And help me not to kill him. You know, we cover our family and our husband. We cover them in clothes, you know, work clothes, church clothes, everyday clothes, play clothes, stuff, you know, shoes, hats, coats. But more important, we need to cover them with our prayers.
Amen.
When Tracy was in ICU, I prayed constantly. I would be massaging his legs and his arms, and I would be standing there praying for him. And then when I'd get done praying for him, I would always sing a chorus. 'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word, just to rest upon his promise, just to know thus saith the Lord. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust trust him, how I prove him more and more. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him more. Every day, every day. The only way we made it through those days, the only way we made it through the past 5 years, the last 6 years of our life. We need to cover our kids while they're at school. We need to cover our spouses while they're at work. Ball practice, church, hospital, wherever, taking trips. Jared, a lot of times before he got married, he had a little girlfriend in Mississippi, and 7 hours away, and he would come in, and he would come through the house right before he'd walk out the door, and he'd just kind of stand there, and I knew what he wanted, and so I would go over and I would pray for him, and that God would give him safe travel mercies and keep him safe, and we have to cover them, and even if we're mad, even if we're upset, we need to cover them in our prayers, and sometimes that'll help us get over because they didn't take their underwear about the floor, and or they may have sprinkled when they tinkled on the toilet. I have a sign in my bathroom. Now, there ain't no man that lives in my house anymore. I live in an apartment by myself, but I have a sign in the guest bathroom, and it says, my aim is to keep this bathroom clean, and your aim sure would help. So. True. But we need to cover our spouses. We need to cover our children, our grandchildren. We need to pray for them that God would protect their mind, their thoughts, and their heart, because the world is vicious, and they're not going to cover them. They're not going to teach them anything other than bad stuff. And if we don't cover them, the world will cover them with their mess and their trash. Leave you with this thought. Romans 5:8 says, God demonstrated his own love for us, that while we were still sinners, he covered us.
Amen.
He covered us with his blood. This afternoon, you may be sitting here and maybe you went through a bad divorce and you've still got the anger and the bitterness inside of your heart. Don't be like the lone monkey and hold on to it. Let it go. You're not going to be able to serve God to your full potential as long as you're holding on to the bitterness and the anger, and you're not going to be able to help anybody. You're not going to be able to testify to them of what God has done for you as long as you're holding on to it. You got to let it go. Maybe you're sitting here, and maybe you're like me today. Maybe you've lost your spouse, and you're still holding on to that depression and that just darkness, and it just seems like you can't get by. You can't. Life goes on. You either get on the train of life and go and ride, or you get left behind for the devil to devour. You got to get out of the pit. You got to get on solid ground. You got to get your focus on Jesus Christ. Romans 8:18 says, for I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared to the joy that shall be revealed in us. There is coming a day that we're going to leave all of this stuff behind, and we're going into a land where there's not going to be more sickness, there's not going to be more suffering, there's not going to be more dying, there's not going to be more heartache, there's not going to be any more trials, there's not going to be any more having to pay bills, there's not going to be any more picking underwear up out the floor. It's going to be peace, joy, and happiness forever.